Welcome to this memorial service for Beverley Joy Downs Morissette. I'm Alan Downs, Bev's oldest brother. You should know that we are recording this memorial and will make the recording available publicly. We're glad that you could join us today to celebrate the life of Beverley Joy Downs Morissette. Bev was born in Newton, Massachusetts on 23 August 1947. The family lived on Columbia Avenue in Newton Highlands when she was born, but soon moved to High Street, Newton Upper Falls, where Bev attended elementary school. She was 13 when the family moved to Mark Tree Road in Needham, where Bev attended junior high and high school, graduating from Needham High School in 1966. She later attended Johnson & Wales Business College in Providence, Rhode Island, and it was during her time in Rhode Island that she met Richard Oakes, a U.S. Navy submarine sailor, and they married in December 1971. Their daughter, Christina Joy, was born a little over a year later, and they moved to Washington State, where Rick had grown up. When Rick completed his naval service, they continued to live in Washington State and briefly in California. Rick worked as a restaurant chef, and Bev held several jobs in the food service industry. When Herb Downs, Bev's father, developed a brain tumor, Bev and Chris returned to the family home in Needham to help Eleanor Downs, Bev's mother. Bev and Rick were divorced soon after Bev returned to live in Needham. After her father died, Bev stayed in the family home in Needham during the next few years, where she and her mother supported each other and jointly raised Chris. It was during this period that Bev met Andre. Andre was a single parent of two girls. He and Bev hit it off and were married in December 1992. They lived in Lakeville, Massachusetts, until they both retired and decided to spend their golden years in Florida. They bought a home in Winter Haven, sold their Lakeville home, and became Florida residents. Bev developed heart trouble, and the day after her 71st birthday, she received a new heart valve. Earlier this year, almost 5 years after her valve was replaced, it was determined that it was failing and needed to be replaced again. She entered the hospital on Tuesday, 22 August, less than 3 weeks ago. Bev died of heart failure during the valve replacement operation. She was just 1 day shy of her 76th birthday. We will miss her very much. We will now hear memories of Bev from her brother, Dave Downs.
Well, my first memory of Bev was when I was a toddler, I guess. We must have been at the doctor's office. The nurse was giving her a shot. I remember her screaming, and I know I was upset at the nurse for hurting my little sister. When we were growing up, all three of us sat on the playroom floor watching Saturday morning cartoons and cowboy shows. And I remember weekdays we'd watch Howdy Doody and Mickey Mouse Show before we ate supper together. And Beverly and I used to play together with her stuffed dolls and her dolls at times. I remember one particular doll she had, his name was Jane, and I ended up marrying a Jane. We used to have vacations in Rockport, Massachusetts, and one year Bev picked up a mouse out in the field and cuddled it, and it bit her. I remember her having to get a shot for that. And we bought a cottage in Wheeler's Point in Gloucester. And I remember playing with Bev and our neighbors, Babsy and Nancy and others, out on their lawn. in the evening after supper, we played croquet and games like Red Rover and that sort of thing. And we were all basically about the same age. Now, she uh, had her birthday in August, and so we were usually on vacation when she had her birthday. So this is a picture of her. She must have been 6 or 7 on her birthday, and the gifts that she got there. I used to like green olives, and one day when we finished off the olives, Beverly handed me the jar full of olive juice because she knew I liked it so much. So I drank the whole thing and got real sick. And of course, she didn't do it to be mean or anything. She just knew I loved this stuff and I'd like to drink it. When she was 12, that was about the time that Lois came along. And so Bev shared her bedroom with Lois. I'm sure that Bev had to get up, in the evening many times, or I'm in the middle of the night to help Lois, to help her get back to sleep. And then we moved to Needham. And so my father was the director of the Burma May Day Camp. Beverly was a counselor at the camp, and I was a maintenance man at the camp. So I would put out the snack every morning, mid-morning, and the counselors would come over with the kids, get the snack, and the younger kids would lie down for a nap. And one day when Beverly lay down for a nap with her kids, she fell asleep, and one of those campers grabbed some poison ivy along the fence and rubbed it all over Bev's arm. And of course, it spread all over Bev's body because Bev has always been allergic to poison ivy. She couldn't look at it. And while we were in high school, because I was interested in several of her friends, and so that kind of put her in the middle between her friends and me. And we'd buy Beatle albums. I'd buy one, she'd buy one. We'd share the Beatle albums. I remember one day she was walking down the sidewalk towards our house, and I didn't know it was her. Apparently, she'd gone out and had her hair cut and styled. She always used to have her hair long and straight. And I honestly did not recognize her until she was right up within a few feet of me. And I think she broke down crying and ran in the house because she figured I didn't like her hair or something, or she was embarrassed. And she always did seem to be a little sensitive that way. And then the Florida vacation, the famous spider story, it's one of our family stories. We went on vacation one year, and it's hard to imagine because my mother, father, Beverly, and I, our Aunt Gert, and Lois all crammed into a Rambler sedan, and then all our luggage crammed into the trunk for a whole week. And we went down to Florida. It was in April, so it was hot down there, but it wasn't terribly hot. And we stopped off at an old motel, so there was no air conditioning, just real loud fans. And up over the fan, I could hear Beverly screaming. So I went in to see what the problem was, and there's a big spider in the bathroom. And so I went in there to get rid of the spider for her, and I couldn't find it. So I walked into the shower, which was only 3x3. It was a stand-up shower. And there it was up on the ceiling right above me. It scared the heck out of me. And it was just as big as she had said it was. So I got out of there as quickly as I could, and the spider came down the wall as quickly as it could and started coming towards me on the floor. And I was backing up, trying to get out the bathroom door while everyone else was trying to get in over my shoulders. And finally, the owner of the motel, was an old lady that couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds, came in and killed it with a broom. And I guess we all got a kick out of the fact that the big 18-year-old didn't get rid of the spider. It was the old lady that did. But in 1965, our mother, was in the hospital during Thanksgiving. So Beverly cooked the dinner for us. And that's another family story that we like to tell, how good the stuffing was that she made after we broke off a hunk. And then after graduation, she moved into an apartment with one of our neighbors. And the girl that she moved in with, I remember Beverly being upset, and I thought it was kind of funny, but Bev was kind of upset with her roommate because the only kind of soup that her roommate would eat was Donald Duck soup, or some kind of Disney soup. And Bev was the first of the siblings to buy a brand new car. She got the 1968 or 1969 Volkswagen Bug. I'm pretty sure it's blue, but not sure. And then our family always had cats when we were growing up, and it seems like she always had cats wherever she lived also. And jeepers, she'd have cats on her towels and the knickknacks, and the whole house was full of things with a cat theme. And one time she confided in me that she really didn't, she didn't love the cat things all that much. It was just that, somebody saw something with a cat on it in her house and knew she liked cats, and so they'd buy her something, and someone else would see what someone else bought, and they'd buy her something, and the thing just snowballed. So she had a house full of cat knickknacks and everything. And on Facebook in recent years, she was always posting pictures of flowers, bouquets of flowers all the time. And what I'll remember the most about Bev was that Beverly was very thoughtful, and she always sent cards on birthdays and at different occasions, and sent gifts for her grandchildren. And she and Andre were very kind and always had the family gatherings at their house in Lakeville for the last 20 to 30 years. And finally, I was so happy to see that Bev enjoyed Florida with Andre, and particularly that she grew a bunch of new friends down in Florida.
And now we'll hear a remembrance of Bev by Bev's husband, Andre Morissette. Andre's remembrance will be read by Bev's sister, Lois DeRusha.
I met Beverly in 1986, and I was immediately attracted to her. Fortunately for me, she felt the same for me. We were together for 37 years, and these were the best years of my life. I never realized how much I would miss her until now. When I think of her now, my heart aches. It will take time for that ache to subside, a lot of time. I loved her with all my heart.
I'm Alan Downs, Bev's oldest brother. As I think back, I can't remember a single time when Bev showed anger. What I remember most clearly about growing up with Bev is that I teased her a lot. But she handled it, and I guess she forgave me because we did become friends. As we grew older, we went our separate ways. She married and moved to Washington State. I married and moved to New Hampshire. After Dad's brain tumor, when Bev came back to Massachusetts, we regularly spent holidays together. Mom, Dave's family, Lois, and Bev and Chris. Bev lit up those holiday get-togethers with her smile and her sense of humor. In more recent years, after she'd married Andre and settled in Lakeville, and I'd moved to California, our chances to get together were much less frequent because we were rarely in the same part of the country at the same time. But whenever Dave, Bev, Lois, and I were together, we'd laugh and tell stories of old times. We would often visit Rockport, Gloucester, or Newton Upper Falls, all places that played a part in our past. And Bev always had stories to make us laugh. I loved to listen to Bev tell a story. She was a master of the art. Her voice would often rise to a high-pitched squeak as she got to the critical part of the story. In August this year, Dave, Bev, Lois, and I got together by Zoom for a chat. I'd like to show you a couple of clips from that Zoom get-together. The first has us sharing a laugh as Bev compares her scar to Dave's scar.
David, what's your scar like? Does your scar bother you at all?
No.
See, he's got a pin, and you've got a pencil-thin scar, don't you?
I don't know. I can't see it. I have to look in the
He
mirror.
doesn't spend a lot of
Maybe
time
he
with
just
it.
check himself out in the mirror too much. Maybe it's a girl thing.
Bev had a way of taking an ordinary event and turning it into a humorous story. This is her story about her 75th birthday party.
Dear, for my birthday was a big deal for me. So I invited all people I knew around the park to go out to dinner with us. And I bought a cake and I had frosting and cake and I said, I'm not after presents. I'm not after cards. I just want to celebrate that I'll be 75. I got presents, I got cards, but we had cake and I had a good time.
That's the most important part of a birthday. It's the cake.
The frosting.
Bev was a jolly soul who brought light and cheer into the lives of those lucky enough to know her. She is and will continue to be sorely missed. We will now hear from Bev's sister, Lois.
Hi, folks. I'm Lois DeRusha. I'm Bev's younger sister by 12 years. The difference in age between us was more than a decade, which meant that we didn't have the experience of growing up at the same time. I showed up when she was 12, and when I was 12, she was getting married. Well, us not really being of the same generation almost, something I've always been a little sad about. What it did mean was that Bev took care of me sometimes, and some of the stories that I remember fondly about that time are when I was about 3, I think. I remember sitting outside on what my dad called the piazza, which is the front porch of our house in Needham. Bev was cutting my hair, and she had gotten about halfway through cutting my hair, and I decided I needed to ride my tricycle immediately. So she said, well, okay, you can ride your tricycle, but you're going to need to tip your head so that your hair's even on both sides. She was very fun-loving. When I was 11 or 12, I had a friend over and we were going to make chocolate chip cookies. And somehow none of the batter made it onto the cookie sheets. My friend goes home, it's dinner time, and Bev is going to open a can of beefaroni and cook it for me. So I ate the beefaroni, and then the salmonella eggs from the raw cookie dough kicked in and got me for about the next 24 hours. Poor Bev. She was a trooper. She held my hair away from my face, although she was deeply disgusted by vomit. Bev was always very thoughtful and sent cards for all occasions. She was a great audience for all my goofy kid stories. She supported my family by showing up for Little League games, and especially, she actually enjoyed dance recitals and dance competitions. The last few weeks, I've been filled with sadness that she's gone. It's the kind of thing that feels kind of silly to say, but I never imagined that it would happen. But I take great comfort when I think about how happy she was in recent years, especially her time in Florida, having a lot of friends close by and having Andre close by in the same house. I'm so deeply grateful that they were able to come up and visit with us a few weeks ago, and that's very special it gives me a little bit of a feeling of closure. We had a great opportunity to catch up, and we laughed and joked and had a wonderful time together. So it's a great memory. Bev, I love you and I miss you. I know in my heart of hearts that you're at peace. We all have gained a guardian angel, and I know that you are having all the cake and frosting you could ever want.
Thank you, Lois. We'll now hear from Bev's daughter, Chris.
Thank you for being here today to honor my mom. I was aware this day would come, but I also never thought it would. The day that I would be without my mom. I saw this quote the other day and it hit really hard. My mom taught me everything except how to live without her. I am so grateful to God that she was my mom. I've heard from so many of you the joy you experienced being around my mom. So I thought I would share this video of her just being silly, full of smiles, and laughing at a family Christmas in the 80s.
Itsy bitsy, teeny weeny, itsy bitsy Brit. No, teeny tiny. Remember that from Jill the Live? Which is Emily Latella. Just wants to read them a story. Tiny kingdom. Yeah, the teeny tiny, itsy bitsy, teeny tiny kingdom. Now there was this teeny tiny little prince. What's this right now? Turn it the other way. There, I will love that color. Oh, that's pretty. Now, did Andy Kahlua give that to you? Yes. Oh, Andy Kahlua.
I'm so grateful for so many who loved my mom and what they meant to her. She had a wonderful time on her visit to Massachusetts the 2 weeks prior to her surgery. I believe she knew she wasn't going to live much longer, and I think she took full advantage of her last months on Earth and said her goodbyes. This is the last time I saw her. I didn't get any pictures except for this one Be Real picture. One of my favorite memories of my mom and I was when I flew out to visit her for her 70th birthday. And of course, we went out for lobster dinner. I guess my favorite memory is this next story, but it still pertains to this photo. She would eat most every part of the lobster, and I only like the claws and tail. There was this one time while camping in Maine, we ordered 3 lobsters for she and I to share. And I remember sitting outside the camper with our lobsters and our gear, and each getting extra lobster of our favorite parts. I was grateful to finally have a conversation with Mom about her relationship with Jesus exactly a week before her surgery. I also got to speak to her surgeon after, and I learned that he and his practice pray for their patients. My faith in God gives me great peace that we will see her again one day. Some things in life over the last year or so have taught me to invest more in the people around me, to make the most of every opportunity, and to not let things go unsaid. I call this being intentional. This was a true gift for my mom and I, as life and distance had somewhat drifted us apart for a few years. My hope is the same gift for family and friends here today, is that you would choose to be intentional with the relationships in your life and spend time with the ones you love, because you never know when they'll no longer be around.
Thank you, Chris. And now it's your opportunity to speak. We'll hear from anyone who wishes to speak about their relationship with Bev or what they remember most fondly about Bev. Please introduce yourself when you're called upon by Bev's daughter, Chris.
You're welcome to speak, Rick. My Oh, I'm asking you to unmute.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
You are. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. This was hard for me also. While you guys were talking, I was reminded of a lot of different things that happened. And Bev and I met when I was in the Navy in New London, Connecticut. And we started dating and then decided to get married. And I remember one of the funniest things that happened the day that we got married was that, as David was talking about, she had a little blue Volkswagen. And so we were on the dance floor dancing, and before we were getting ready to leave, and somebody came up and handed me some keys to the Volkswagen. They had decorated our Volkswagen, or her Volkswagen. And I said to the person, I said, so I don't understand how you were able to do that because the keys are in my pocket. So as it turned out, they had decorated the wrong Volkswagen. And so that was kind of one of the things that was funny to us. And we had a good laugh of it, and we were on our way. I know there was another incident that we really had to laugh about too, because after we got married, and my sister Cheryl and Randy were getting married in 1972, and I had been in the Mediterranean, and I flew back, and we got in the car, and we were driving to Washington. We decided to go to Niagara Falls, so we went across into the Canadian side, and we have Chris with us in a car seat. And when we decided to go back across to the United States, we realized that we had Massachusetts license plates on the car. I had a Washington State driver's license, which was expired. But when you're in the service, you're allowed to have your driver's license, even though it's expired. And Bev had I forget, I think she had a Massachusetts. Anyways, there was like three things that could have happened that they would not have let us come across back into the United States. So, but we had a good time, yeah, actually, now that I think about it, Chris wasn't with us because you weren't born yet. You weren't born until 73, and that trip anyways, it doesn't matter. We were having trouble. We thought we were going to have a lot of trouble getting back in the United States. And then we actually moved to Washington State. And that was when Chris was, I think you were 2 years old or getting close to 2 years old when we actually moved to Washington State. And I had a job, manager and chef of a restaurant that had a discotheque, and that was between 76 and 79. And Bev was a waitress for us. She had never waitressed before, and she did a super job. She was always a little bit nervous at times with things, but that was Bev, and she had such a great sense of humor with things, and then her laugh that she had was very distinct in my opinion because of her accent. Her accent didn't always come out except for certain words and different things. But when she got excited, then her accent really come out. And then over the years, we've been in contact, obviously because of Chris, and we've remained friends. And Connie, my wife, and her became really good friends over the last few years. We spent some time at Andre and Bev's backyard with our motorhome when we traveled across the United States in 2018. And Bev and Connie became really good friends and talked on the phone and things like that. I'm like you, Chris. I did not expect this moment, to take place. I don't think we ever know when, how to handle the things like this sometimes. And it was very upsetting to me, even though that we hadn't, we were no longer married and hadn't been for several years. And I was really, really glad that she found Andre, because it seemed like to me that their relationship was really good, and it was good for her. And so I guess in closing, I would just like to say that I'm sorry for everyone's loss. And I know that she's in a better place now. I guess I'll sign off. Thank you.
I see Steve has his hand up.
I do.
And I
My
was
name's
unmuted.
Steve.
Sorry, I did call on Steve. Sorry. Okay, I'm muting myself again now.
Yeah. My name's Steve Morris. I dated Beverly through most of high school. I think I started going out with her about halfway through my freshman year, and dated all through high school. And and everybody's talking about her, all those qualities that she had back then. Always smiling, always friendly. I don't ever remember having an argument with her per se. She was a year ahead of me, and so she was working the year that I graduated. I went to college down in Connecticut, and no money, living in the dorms, no car. And of course, we didn't have cell phones or internet then, so I couldn't even afford a phone and everything. So getting together became pretty difficult. We maybe saw each other 4 or 5 times that year, and then the next year she went to Johnson and Wales, and pretty much didn't see each other. And then she either called or wrote me and said that she was going out with I guess Rick Oakes there down at the, I think it was the sub base in New London. And so we just kind of went our separate ways after that. But high school was an amazing experience with her. We had a really good group of friends. Dave, Alan, good to hear you again. I saw you a lot when we were dating through high school. I remember, Alan, you had a Vespa motor scooter or something. But we had a really good group of friends. I think one summer she came up and was kind of a babysitter for a family in Needham. So we got to spend one summer up at Lake Winnipesaukee together, and we had a terrific time. I got to go to 3 proms because I went to her senior prom, went to my junior prom, my senior prom with her, and she was beautiful, friendly, always smiling. In fact, I think I sent you another picture of where somebody had thrown a birthday party in the house for me, and Bev was there, and yeah, she's smiling in the picture. So always smiling, always friendly, and we had a great relationship with a good bunch of friends in high school. And I lost contact with her. Eventually, I graduated from Navy. I graduated from college. I ended up going in the Navy also, and busy with everything in my life. And about 6 years ago, we found each other on Facebook, so we just became friends on Facebook. And I was always just, I don't Facebook post much, but she was a fairly prolific poster, between the flowers and the cakes and things. And it's always good to see it, boom, boom. And then this summer, she wrote me on Messenger and said, "Hey, Steve, what's up?" And I went back and gave her a little blurb there. And she came back like the next day and said, "Glad to hear it, I'm glad everything's going well." And that was, then the next post I got was your post that that Beverly had passed away, and I'm going, that really surprised me. But I am glad that she had such terrific kids and families, and that Andre and her had many years together and fun down there in Florida. And looking at the family pictures here, I saw obviously a lot of pictures I've never seen, but you evidently had wonderful families and a great time down there. And the pictures you show, yeah, she's always smiling, because I like I say, I don't ever remember having an argument or cross words with her, but I do remember, always smiling and friendly and having good times, whether it was going to the movies or, whatever. So, but it was very nice of you to let me know and invite me to this thing, because it filled in a lot of blanks over the years. And like I say, I was a little surprised because we'd just been communicating on Messenger, and so I'm glad I have the opportunity. My condolences, because we probably should have gotten together, on Messenger or something a few years before. Occasionally, I was in Florida. Winter Haven is a beautiful town, but I'm glad you invited me and gave me an opportunity to talk about Beverly. So, thank you.
Thank you. Lois, do you want to read
Yes. So I have a message that was sent to our family from Gretchen Deutsch, used to be Obermeyer, right? Alan, are you going to be able to tell me how to pronounce her last name?
Gretchen Drosch, and she is on watching along with her brother-in-law, Bill Murphy.
Oh, hi. I see you. Bev's voice and laugh are memorable, always made me smile. I especially remember her spider story. We will always have the memories of her life. I'm thankful to have known Bev. I look forward to hearing more of her life stories during the celebration of her life. Her sparkling eyes and welcoming smile is how I've remembered her, and will continue to do so. Peace be with the Downs and Morissette families. Thank you, Gretchen. Morena has her hand up.
Oh, yes, thank you. You're welcome to speak.
Hi, everybody. I think I have to explain who I am. I am Italian, and I was an American Field Service student with the Downs family in 1975 and 1976. So I lived with Lois and what I called my American parents, my American mom and dad, and I used to know them. I used to call them mom and dad, and I remember Lois didn't like that very much at the beginning, because it wasn't easy for her to have another sister living with her. I am a year older than Lois. So when I went to live with the Downs, Mark Tree Road in Needham, only Lois was living with the family. And I remember meeting Bev and Chris was really small, and Rick, I think for Alan's and Saucy marriage, if I remember correctly. And so that was the time that I met the family when I was there. And then I went back to visit in 84, 86, 90, and 91. And then in the other times I went back, Bev and Chris were living with mom. So we shared some days together. And I remember meeting Andre at the time. And so I had the opportunity to know her better, because of course she was living in Spokane when I was living with the family. And as you all say, I remember her laughing, and I remember sharing a lot of good moments. And then I haven't been able to get back to the US for a number of years, because I had my own family to raise in Italy. But I was really glad that I got in touch with the Downs family a few months ago, and I had the opportunity to participate to one of the Downs reunion where I could see all the four brothers and sisters of the family. And since I'm not so young myself, I thought I was so happy. I was so happy and lucky that we were all still alive, because there are friends of mine that are not already with us, are not with us anymore. So I was so glad in May that I could see all the four of them. And then it was really a pleasure to have the opportunity, thanks to Alan and Dave and Lois, to see the registration that they made of their Zoom meeting in August. And I thought that it was really a blessing that they were able to spend this time with Bev just a few days before her operation. And I can imagine the shock, because none of you, of course, could imagine what would happen with the surgery. So I perfectly understand your sorrow and your shock, which was mine. When I got the message on my mail, I couldn't really believe. So I want to express all my closeness to you. I share your sorrow. I share your emotion, even from so far away, because I remember her. And, it was a pleasure to, and I always remember with a lot of love my American family, and I feel you are still my American family. And thank you for the opportunity to participate and to share with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this memorial to our spouse, mother, sibling, cousin, aunt, grandmother, great-grandmother, and good friend, Bev. Bev's family asks that in lieu of flowers, you contribute to one of Bev's favorite charities in her honor: the Wounded Warrior Project, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, or the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the ASPCA. We're going to conclude with a slideshow of pictures from Bev's life, drawn from several of our collections and organized by her brother Dave. Dave will make this slideshow available on YouTube. Email Dave or reply to your invitation to today's memorial to request the YouTube address of the slideshow or the location of the partial memorial recording. On behalf of Bev's family, I thank you for joining us today to celebrate the life of Beverley Joy Downs Morissette.